All right, welcome back. We're talking about adjusting to life in Costa Rica, and this is the Q&A session. So, hey, I hope that you're back and you're ready to ask questions. And this way, we can, I want to address all the questions that you might have, and address a lot of the things that I saw, a lot of the questions and comments that I saw. So, hey, take a moment to put your questions and your comments inside right now so that we can address those comments. So, there's one. Costa Rica is so very, very different. And one of the big things that I see a lot of the times is how you do get the gringo price on service related things. If you're going to go and find a local mechanic, there are no prices placed on there. So you're going to get charged way too much for your service. Now,
No, that's at a private mechanic.
that's a private mechanic.
Like if you go
That's
to
what I said. A local guy, what I call a shade tree mechanic, you're going to get overcharged. Well, how can you avoid that? See, how you can be prepared? Well, I'm telling you, you're going to get recharged. Well, that's just like in Costa Rica. Like in the United States. In the United States, you go to a mechanic, he's going to overcharge almost every time a woman goes there. He's going to assume she don't know what she's doing. She don't know anything about cars. And so I'm going to overcharge her for some minor thing that I can fix in 5 minutes. Well, that happens so much in Costa Rica, whether you're a guy or a girl, okay? And so how can you avoid getting overcharged at a mechanic? Well, what you want to do is there's great big huge gas stations, okay? And at these large gas stations, a lot of time they have mechanic shops in the back. Well, at those mechanic shops in the back, then they're less likely to overcharge you. I go to those mechanic shops and they have the prices in the computer that, hey, this is how much it costs for an oil change. This is how much it costs for a brake job. This is, and whenever they have to buy parts, they go buy the parts and then they bring the parts and then there's the receipts. Well, we had to buy brake pads and here's how much the brake pads cost. And so they have receipts for all of the parts and they have that shows their labor. So you're least likely to get overcharge of the gringo price by going to those kind of places to get your car fixed. Now, I'm not saying that all shade tree mechanics are bad. I have one extremely good mechanic. His name is Roger, but he's in a very rural area over around Paso Real. Super good guy, okay? He does a great job working on my vehicle, yet he's a little bit far from me. But when I can, I take my vehicle over there so that he can fix it. So you can find them now.
And get recommendations because I can't remember the man that is in San Isidro, but it's hard to get your car in with him because he's in such high demand, because he has great recommendations. He does not overcharge and he does a really good job. He's known for that. Lots of gringos bring their vehicles to him, even from the other side of the country.
There's a lot of places. So, the place you're talking about is in San Isidro,
it's hard to get in.
It's hard to get in there. You do have to make reservations, and they are more expensive because they're in such high demand. But man, they do a top-notch job on fixing your vehicle. So, and Rebecca often says, and I say, hey, get recommendations, but don't trust that recommendation because we were living in. Up over in the Rivas area. What was the name of that place? Anyway, we were living in the Rivas area and asked my neighbor, hey, who's a trusted mechanic? Well, I went to that trusted mechanic, and that trusted mechanic may be a trusted mechanic for all of the local Ticos. Chimiro, yeah. He wasn't a trusted mechanic for a gringo because he charged me 4 times the price on labor to change the clutch. And I've had my clutch changed several times. But he saw a gringo walking up there, and the only thing he saw was dollar signs. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. I'm about to make some money off this gringo. So,
and before you buy a car, a used vehicle, it's good to know that some of the cars, like the one that we have, the Galloper, the older model, you can't hardly find used parts anymore. And when you do find it, it is about 4 times the cost because of supply and demand.
Yeah, and of course
So
ours is older, and it's a gas model, and since it is older, it's a lot harder to find parts. But if we'd have had that same vehicle in a diesel model, it would have been a whole lot easier. They just didn't make a whole lot in that gas model. So hey, if you're here and you haven't put your question in the comment box, hey, please put your question in the comment box. I definitely want to address all the questions that we had from the prior session. Okay, so one question that I saw in the comment box is about police and about how the police are there to bribe you every time you turn around. Okay, so let me address this because this does happen a lot. Okay, and but here's how you can avoid that. Okay, so because we have been putting on the events, the relocation events. Well, now we have a brand new a dedicated Facebook group for the alumni of the people that attend the events, and it's really fabulous because now all the people that have attended the actual event, well, they're in there and they've already made all these awesome connections, and they can share back and forth. And one of the things that they were sharing was how a cop tried to bribe this guy. He shared that, and of course I'm able to spend time in there and tell them how they can avoid it. Well, I'm going to tell you the same thing I just told them. Okay, so in Costa Rica, you basically have about three different types of cops. You have one cop that I call the presence cop, the presence police. He's there really just to make sure that you don't see any lights, you don't see anything bad. They get called out to look at things. But the presence cops, they're just a regular old cop. They run around and they have their lights on most of the time, and they can't even give you a speeding ticket. I mean, you see those guys driving crazy. Well, you see all the cops driving crazy, but you have what's called the transistor cop. The transistor cop's the only cops that can give you a ticket for traffic violations. Okay, so the traffic cops, they're usually working together, but they will usually, it's not like in the United States where you see a cop on the side of the road and you're speeding and he runs and chases you down. You don't normally see that happening. While that does happen, and we've been pulled over by a transistor cop on a motorbike, ran a red light or something like that. And now in San Jose, you're beginning to see transistor cops with radar guns. It's starting to become a thing. You just don't see it a whole lot. But the transistor cops, they normally will set up a roadblock and they will do inspections. They will do stops. So as you're passing by, as vehicles are passing by, they'll flag you over. And they'll flag you over and they'll check and see if you have your inspection stickers, if you're Marchamo. They're going to check and see if everything's all right with your vehicle. If something's not right, they pull you over, give you a ticket. Okay? And normally that's no problem. Here's where the problem comes in. Transistor cop gets off work. I don't care what time it is. I don't know. It might be 3 o'clock. He gets off work. On his way home, he's like, I'm going to pick up a few bucks. He pulls over and he's now by himself. Transistor cops almost never work by themselves. If you see a transistor cop, his vehicle is pulled over on the side of the road. He's standing in the middle of the road and he's waiting for you to come on by. If he sees you're a gringo, he's pulling you over. He's pulling you over. Okay? And what is he going to do? He's going to check everything about you, and he's going to find something wrong with your vehicle because what he wants is a bribe. Okay, so how do you avoid the bribe? Okay, because I mean, I've been pulled over, and it just so happened at that time my state inspection sticker was expired. So then he's like, oh, state inspection, it's expired. That's normally 70,000 colones fine for that. And I'm just real nice. Look, never get stupid. It never pays off to get stupid. And so just say, hey, oh, lo siento, I'm sorry. Try to speak Spanish. I'm sorry, and of course, he's always going to ask to look at your passport, your driver's license. And so the guy continued to saying how much it was. He was waiting for me just to offer him a bribe. I could have easily given him 5,000 clones or 10,000 clones, and he'd have let me go. I just don't believe in paying bribes. And so I just said, oh, lo siento, man, I don't have no money. I'm on the way to this. I love Costa Rica. We've been here 10 years. Oh, I love Costa Rica. I'm trying to, I give one excuse after another. And he kept on hemming and hawing about it's 60,000 clones. Well, it wasn't 60,000 clones because I got a ticket for that last year. And it was like 20 or 30,000 clones. Here's what I can tell you. Every single time they're telling you it's 100,000 colones, it's 60,000 colones. The ticket is always, always, always going to be less than the bribe. Just say, "Oh, lo siento, I don't have no money," and just wait for him to give you a ticket. If you wait for him to give you a ticket, he either is not going to give you a ticket, or if he does give you a ticket, the ticket's going to be cheaper than the bribe, okay? And you won't even know what the ticket's going to be when you get it, okay? And so it's real important to know that, okay? And then you go pay the ticket later. And for me, I just waited until it was time to pay the marchamo, and when I paid the marchamo, it was added to my marchamo, and I just paid it the same time I paid the marchamo. So, and it's kind of like what Muka says. Muka says that a transistor pulled me over and said I was going 82 in an 80 by himself. And he said I needed to give him $200 or the ticket would be $400. Yep, you're absolutely right. The speeding ticket is never. I bet you your speeding ticket wouldn't have been 30,000 colones. And so here's the thing you got to think about. Most of Costa Rica, they're poor. They don't have money. So all of their tickets are usually very, very cheap. Now, the one ticket I know is expensive, and that's because they want to enforce it big time, is making sure you got a seatbelt. So your seatbelt ticket is going to be expensive. But I can tell you, Muka, if you would have just offered him 5,000 or even 10,000 colones and said, "That's all I got. That's all I have," guarantee you he would have took it and you could have left, and that would have been the quickest way. Now, I'm not saying pay a bribe. I hate paying a bribe. I hate crooked people. Okay. But I can guarantee you that if I would have had a fake wallet in one pocket, if I would have pulled out my fake wallet and opened it up and he would have saw all I got is 10,000, oh, this is all I have, guarantee he'd have snatched it up and said, "Okay, have a good day." That's how corrupt it is, okay? So, yes, and all the locals accept it, okay? So, if you see a transistor by himself, this is what I do. "Oh, lo siento. Oh, man. Oh, man. I got no money. Oh, man." Guarantee you. And what did the guy do for me? He says, "Okay, this time I let you go with a warning. Go with warning this time. Next time," he let me go with a warning. Why? Because he was corrupt and he didn't want to write a ticket because he was off anyway. So that stuff does happen. So, hey, it's just real important that you understand. And if you're prepared, you can avoid a lot of that stuff. Okay.
I've heard some things in the touristy area of that kind of stuff happening. And I think good advice that they were saying is never like go to the ATM and go get money or anything like that. Go ask the cop if you feel like something is off. Ask the cop to follow you to the police station.
That's
ask
right.
him where the police station is and just say, I want to go handle this at the police station.
Yeah, that's and that, if there's something serious and they're just really adamant, just say, "Hey, look, take me to the police station. I need to talk to your supervisor." I can promise you at that moment they're letting you go, because
if it's been fraudulent.
Yeah, if it's a guy working by himself, I guarantee you, if it's not a real legitimate problem, guarantee he's not taking you to his supervisor, because he will get fired. He'll get in trouble. Okay, because there was a case where exactly what Rebecca was saying, and it hit the news, where these guys pressured him to go to the ATM machine, get some money. And so, of course, they got their names, they reported them, and those guys ended up getting fired.
Whereas, and this has happened in the United States, where there's crime and the cops know they can't really do anything about it. Some of those things are just accepted, but they do not like cops or anybody taking advantage of tourists, visitors, guests in their country. They don't want that going on, so
Mm-hmm.
if you report that to the authorities, they'll try to do something about it.
Now, Muka, I'm glad you shared that. And he said he got pulled over. He says, "I went ahead and I paid him because I didn't want him to search my stuff and find out how much I really had." And so that could be a legit reason why you might want to pay someone. Now, you could have just said here, but the reality is he can't actually search you. Okay, he can't legally search you. In the United States, cops can pull you over, search you, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but here they can't legally do that. Okay, and so there's a lot of things that I don't really know, but here it's way different than in the United States. Canada or things like that. So a lot of times they will. It's a lot of scare tactics, scare tactics, scare tactics. Now, you know what? If you've been over to the border and you bought a whole bunch of liquor, and because this happens a lot, people, especially uh, Ticos, they will go to the border. They got a bar, a restaurant, and they will go to the Panamanian border because they can buy liquor half price. And so, man, they will fill up, buying 20, 30, 40, 50 cases of liquor. And then they're going across the border with it. Well, they get across the border, they get to a checkpoint, and all of a sudden it all gets confiscated. Okay. So, you can't go to Panama and buy a whole bunch of stuff duty free and get out. Now, hey, if you're buying a case of this or a case of that, or you buy 2 or 3 of this or that, you're not going to get in any kind of trouble. It's just if you go in there and they say that you got 5 computers, you got 3 iPhones, well, okay, you might get in trouble because then you're supposed to pay import duties and fees on that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up and shared that. If you got something that you're not supposed to have, and they call someone and they do search your vehicle, then, yeah, you could get into trouble. So I'm glad you did share that, Muka.
And you're not saying Muka's name right.
What is it? It was Maka?
I think so.
Maka. I think it was Maka. Sorry, I mispronounce stuff all the time, and he did correct me on the last one. Okay. So,
and it depends on the situation. If I were by myself and I felt maybe threatened or whatever, you stand up to those things, but you're of a different
different personality.
Yeah, I mean, you're there telling him this, and I'm in the passenger seat going, oh my gosh, where are they?
Yeah, Rebecca.
So things would maybe be different for me. I might just say, okay, can I just.
Well, Rebecca would probably hear me and say, she'd pull out her fake wallet with 10 colones in it and say, well, this is all I have. And he'd reach in there and grab it. Okay. He'd be happy with that.
See, that would work for me. I'd be like, okay, he's happy. I'm happy.
And we all out of here. We friends and get out of here.
And if I didn't know what I know now, I would be like, hey, I'm in a foreign country. What can I do if they, so, but knowing what I know now through the experiences that we've had and talk to people now, I realize they're, don't give them if they're asking 70,000 and it's kind of off the books. I probably would say, well, can we go to the police station?
Right. And that would be a good thing. You can always say, well, can we go to the police station and I can take care of it there. And almost always they're going to be like, I'll let you go this time with a warning.
Right.
Okay.
But not knowing, I would think it was real.
Yeah. Now, there's a question here that Pigs says smart contracts using digital currency will prevent this and will likely become a thing in the future. I don't really understand that, but here's something that could possibly help, right? When you say smart contracts in Costa Rica, they are required now to give you a digital invoice if you ask for one. So if they want you to pay the ticket right now, you could say, yeah, can you give me a digital receipt right now? That might help.
Well, they made that comment when you were talking about services, like with the mechanics and stuff like that. But yeah, it helps to, you've done that when we've gone to the mechanic. He's always asked for an invoice, and you always ask to see the used parts, because they will do that if they're on the up and up. That's just a thing that they do here. The mechanics will show you the used parts.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I completely forgot to tell them. So if you have a mechanic, then tell them, well, hey, look, get an estimate first. Always get an estimate, and I'll let them know straight up front. Okay, give me an estimate on this, and
don't do any work until
don't do any work until I give you approval. Okay, and once I tell you okay or I agree on the price, I want to see all of the old parts. Okay, and I have him pick up the vehicle and I have him show me all of the new parts. Because I just don't trust him. It's like he showed me some old parts he got off of some other vehicle. I want to see the new part that's on my vehicle, okay? So there are a lot of things you can do to avoid that kind of problem.
But that's something that can wear people down, is the constant having to be mistrusting. I that's hard on my character. I'm glad you deal with all of that, because that's hard on me. I don't like to haggle. I don't like to have to ask for honesty, or to second guess people. Uh, so I'm glad you handle that kind of thing.
It is, for me, I
That would
have,
wear me down, I
oh,
think.
and that's,
And it has worn you down
it
when
has.
we've had major car repairs and something going wrong with the house, and having to deal with the utilities is just.
Well, that's the kind of problem, and that's what was happening with growing gringo. It will wear you down, and then all of a sudden it begins to pile up, and that's when the breaker flips, and you're like, well, crap, it's just not worth it. And what you have to do is remind yourself to stay focused on that positive. And for me, I have always been just very, very, very trusting. I'm talking about I would give the shirt off my back to help you, and we still do this to this day. That's why, we allow you to schedule a free 20-minute phone consultation. We take time out of our busy schedule to talk with you. And if you want to support us in some way, donate and all that, great, but we don't require you to do any of that. We hope that we can actually help you. Okay. And it is a challenge. And so I really wish that I had someone that would have helped me. Okay. But I gave the shirt off my back. And then they wanted my pants too. Before I knew it, I was running down the street naked because, I couldn't do enough to help them. They wanted every single thing. And so so now I've learned that I cannot be trusting like I used to. I just have to, every time I turn around, I'm very, very, very cautious. And it's like, I look at everything and now I hate it. I do. I hate it. I like, it's probably just a scam. Oh, it's probably just a scam. Oh, it's probably just a scam. Oh, he don't really need help. Oh, so that part does get old. And so I just have to remind myself to focus on the positive. And, I remind myself, I do have a couple of good Tico friends. My current neighbors, extremely good Tico friends. We help each other out. We have a great relationship. Our relationship is so stinking great. They invited us to go to his mama's birthday party the other night. We went to mama's birthday party. She's 70 something years old, and they cooked up her favorite food, a good seafood dish. We have a great relationship. I got another great buddy that y'all are going to get to meet. His name is Rudy. Super, super, super good guy. This guy hates all the corruptness in Costa Rica. He gets conned every time he turns around because he's a businessman. So he loves to help gringos to make sure that gringos get the right thing. And he's going to be actually talking at our next event on March 3rd. And so he's going to be talking about understanding the Tico mind, diving into the Tico mind and understanding the Tico mind. I'm really excited to be able to share with you all of that great information. So, now Jennifer puts out something that's really great, and it's a really fun point. Jennifer says, we have a rental in Santa Clara, not far from Ciudad Caseta. Glad we won't be too far from a Walmart as we get accustomed to living in a new country. Super, super excited. Now, hey, Rebecca, remember the first time we went into, let's see, where were we at? And boy, we had just arrived, and it was a super, super challenge. But we went somewhere, and it kind of brought us. Oh, it was a pally, I think. Trying to find groceries, and when you go into some of these little bitty pulperias, there's nothing has any kind of order, and it's not real clean. Well, we went into a pally, and it Pallies are owned by Walmart. So you went in there and you can kind of, oh, well, here's where the stuff is supposed, where you would normally find Kleenexes with paper towels, blah, blah, blah. It was kind of a breath of fresh air. And then the first time we went into Walmart over in San Isidro, when they built that, you almost felt a relief because you could find things that you were looking for. Because one of the biggest challenges you had was you would have 10 things on your list, and you'd have to go to stinking 5 stores to find the things that you needed on your list.
Yeah, because they're so little, and exactly. I'd have to go literally to 3 different stores to get 5 things on my shopping list.
And what a challenge.
Check out 3 different times, try to park 3 different times. So it's a thing of convenience. That's another thing that is kind of like European style, is that there's a store that you get bread from. There's a different store that you get fruits and vegetables from, a different store if you want to buy meat. That's just typical how it is, like in the city central. and that's very different from what
we're
what I
used to in the
was
United
used to.
States.
Yeah, and so that took some getting adjusted to, because that's not my job, my day job, to go get the groceries. That's a thing that I do after having worked. So
Right. So it is. It's clearly different. So Jennifer, that's exciting. And here's what I always tell people. People ask me, well, if I'm coming to Costa Rica, where would you suggest? And I always say, hey, look, a great place to be your first rental, first place to live would be to go to San Isidro del General in the Paris de Leon area. Why? Because they do have good hospitals. They do have a Walmart. And a lot of people, I hate Walmart. Not when you get to Costa Rica. You're going to love it, because it makes it easy to go and find basic stuff. Okay. And so it helps you to be able to adapt to living in Costa Rica. And that's what this is all about. What can you do to adapt to life in Costa Rica? And once you've adapted, well, then you get accustomed to, like, okay, I need to go to the carniceria. That's the meat market to get my meat. Oh, I can go to the feria. That's the farmer's market to go get my local vegetables and produce once a week. Oh, I need to go to the ferreteria. That's the hardware store. So there's all these different places. I need to go to the panderia. That's the bread place to go get your bread. So as you're adapting, well, after you've been here a few years and you've adapted, life begins to just get phenomenal. And then the dream of living in Costa Rica, once you've adapted, really becomes an absolute dream. 10 years, I still have to adapt to some things because of my personality. But if you can set yourself up right the first time, boy, if we'd have came down here and lived in San Isidro, now, of course, when we first came here 10 years ago, they didn't have a Walmart. But if we'd have been able to, even though they didn't have Walmart, it would have been easier in San Isidro than where we were, right?
Right.
It would have been so much easier. So, hey, excited for you, Jennifer, that you're going to be somewhere where there is a Walmart close by. And to keep in mind, there's quite a few Walmarts in the San Isidro and metropolitan area, and you don't have to live in the city. You can live on the outskirts and still be close by. But if you live anywhere south of San Jose, the only Walmart is going to be in San Isidro. There are no other Walmarts in it. Now, I think you get over on the Lemoyne side, I think around Liberia, they do have a Walmart there, okay?
And one of the differences, okay, I'm just going to share with this, like the little tiny stores that used to have to go to had no covering, no covered parking, and no concrete. Like when you left out of the store, you might have had 3 feet of concrete, and then after that, it was gravel, and so you can't push the cart to your car because it's gravel, or you can, but it'd be very difficult. So you have to, get your bags. These are little things. I mean, but it's just, okay, I'm going to compare it to Walmart. So if it's rainy season, 6 months out of the year, and there's no covered parking, so you're having to deal with umbrella, the water's puddled. You're having to carry all of your groceries from the front of the store to your car. Versus now with the Walmart, there is covered parking. They have underground, like one floor that is just covered parking, so you never get wet. you walk straight from your car. There's an escalator or elevator that takes you up to the store, and you can roll your cart all the way to your vehicle and unload. That's a little tiny thing, but coming from the United States, I wasn't used to, not being able to roll my cart to the car.
Right.
So
Because
it's a little thing, and it's nothing to leave Costa Rica over, but it's something that you just, I had to get used to and not complain about, and just accept, because, hey, we live in the most beautiful country in the world. So it's kind of like being prepared for, we were unprepared.
we were completely unprepared.
But you can think about it like maybe looking forward to retirement, let's say. Okay, so you can't wait till you are retired. You can't wait till you don't have to get up by the alarm clock, don't have to go into work. Looking forward to that. And then it depended on your personality. Some people adjust so well to retirement. They're like in heaven. It's wonderful. Other people
After 3 months, they're bored out their mind.
Yeah, they didn't know what it was going to be like. They thought that they would like it, but they didn't realize that right now they're bored. They don't have purpose.
They don't have a hobby.
Yeah, and so retirement's not what they thought that it was going to be.
And so now they're looking for a part-time job.
Yeah, they want to go back into the workforce. So it's kind of like that. If you're not, your expectations are different from what your reality is, then you're going to have a lot of disappointments. You can overcome that by focusing on the positive things.
That's right. Now,
I mean, we didn't move to Costa Rica for convenience, put it that way.
That's right. Now, Maka said, where a commercial came on. Hey, I apologize. That is part of YouTube. Now on lives, they will insert a commercial. And so you just have to wait that few seconds and click skip. But it's supposed to pick you up right where you left off at. But anyway, I was saying, I always advise people, if it's your first time, to go to San Isidro del General over in the Paris Celadon area and try life out there, because you do have hospitals. It is only 3 hours away from San Jose. They do have a tiny airport there. You know, there are several things. So, hey, apologize for the commercials. You know, Pigs Pig said an Eminem song just popped up. Another commercial. You know, YouTube does things. We're on their platform, so we can, we just, it is what it is. We have to do it. But hey, look, take a look at what Jennifer says. She says, hey, she went to San Isidro, but for her, she just wasn't crazy about the area. She spent a few days there. But hey, it's kind of hard to determine whether you like an area or not on just a few days. In order to really find out if you enjoy an area, I highly suggest you need to be there a few weeks, a month or two, and really see what's in that area. But you know what? There's nothing to do in places like San Isidro, San Vito. And so maybe you need to be somewhere around San Jose metropolitan area if you like to do other things, because there is nothing to do.
Totally depends on your personality.
Big time depends on your personality.
And what you're wanting. If you're really wanting to be at the beach, I mean, while San Isidro is only like, I think 45, 50-minute drive from the beach, that's a lot if you like to go to the beach every day.
That's right.
Plus the road from San Isidro to Dominical is
very windy.
Curvy,
It's a perfect motorcycle beach. I mean, I call that Dominical Road. That Dominical Road, I call that a Harley Davidson road. Man, I used to own a Harley. Man, that would be the perfect road for a Harley. I mean, it's beautiful, winding road, beautiful views, but hey, it's all part of being in Costa Rica, and you don't want to own a Harley in Costa Rica. Number one, you are a target, boy. You riding a Harley in Costa Rica, they know you're a gringo with money, and I'm going to get a piece of your pie for sure. You're a target, and you don't want that. Okay, here's a good question that William has. William says, can you secure a house in the boonies good enough to leave it for months at a time? No, and hell no. I mean, I don't care where you have a house. If you don't have somebody watching your house, they will dismantle that house. Okay. Now, I guess if you have dogs, but if you have dogs, you got to have someone to take care of. You can have cameras, but guess what? They're going to take down the cameras. So if you have a house anywhere in Costa Rica, and look, you can have house sitters for free. There's people that want to come to Costa Rica, but you know what? It costs a whole lot for hotels. It costs a whole lot to stay in a place. But guess what? People will come sit in your house. And, Rebecca and I went house sitting all over Costa Rica. We stayed in houses for up to a year for free, okay, because they needed someone to watch their house so that the Costa Ricans, the Ticos, wouldn't dismantle their house. So no, I don't care where you're at. In the United States, you can leave your house and no one's going to bother it, but not in Costa Rica. You leave a house there, then all you're doing is saying, hey, you need some tin for your roof? Come get mine. Oh, you need some shelving for your house? Come get mine. You need some walls for your house? Come get mine. And they'll gladly do it. So no, I'm sorry, you can't do it.
Well, and the house sitting websites, you got to be careful with that. I mean, we were good house sitters because we worked and we weren't interested in going tour and everything. But if you get a house sitter that's coming to Costa Rica to have experience Costa Rica and have a vacation, and you're out in the boonies with nothing to do, well, they may leave your house unattended for days at a time. That's been kind of a horror story with some situations. So, if you're out in the boonies, you got to make sure your house sitter is good with that, is going to be back every evening, if they do go into town or whatever.
And it's important if you communicate with your house sitter, right? And you're talking to them, because you get to communicate with your house sitter and find out, hey, it's okay. I mean, you're in Costa Rica and you want to go visit and stuff, but we don't want you being gone for a week at some other part of Costa Rica and leaving my house unattended for a week. And so, you want to communicate with them. If you got cameras in your house so that you can see that they're there, or you talking to them and you have them sending you pictures and stuff. It's important. It's very important on these house sitting sites. You can communicate with them, and in that way you can get good house sitters. Okay. Now,
I think just sometimes having a neighbor go check on your stuff every now and then.
Now, Jennifer asked a really great question. What did you do between house sits? And well, we were renting a house, okay, and we were renting a very, very cheap house. I want to say it was costing us $120 a month,
something like that.
But
it was in a very hot
place,
bad location.
It was not. It wasn't a whole. I mean, it was a little Tico house, and there was nothing wrong with it, but it was in a hot place, $120 a month, and when we'd go on house sits, I had a full-time employee at the time, and that full-time employee lived in that house. So he was a paid house sitter. And so we would go to a house sit, and just so that if you're at a house sit for more than a month, it's typically normal that if you in a house sit, let's say 3 months, you pay the utilities and you get to live there for free. Now, for us, because we had a house in Costa Rica, and because we were in such high demand, because we lived in Costa Rica, we knew how to pay utilities, all of that stuff, had our own vehicle, we was in high demand. I could always work out, look, we'd be more glad to come house sit for 3 months, 6 months, but we don't pay utilities. We have a house in Costa Rica. We pay utilities in Costa Rica. We're actually providing you a service. We take care of your dogs. I can fix stuff. If something breaks, I'm fixing it. The plumbing, I can fix it. I can take care of things. So we were in very high demand. And so we never paid to house sit. Okay. Maka asked, well, hey, where do you find house sitters? Okay. I need one in Santa Ana. Great. Just go to Google and put in house sitting websites, and you'll find house sitting websites. Hey, normally around $500, $100, $50, $100 a year. And you can go to 2 or 3 different websites, put your information on there, and then you can begin talking with other people who've joined the exact same site, and you can interview them so that you can get you a house sitter. Okay. And as you make connections, we went to this one place. We was there a couple of times. They want us to be there every single year because they just loved us. And we were there for 3 or 4 months at a time. And one matter of fact, that's where we got Nikki from. Okay. But it just got to where we got here and we weren't house sitting anymore. So, hey,
we got our own pets.
We got our own pets. And typically when you do house sitting, they don't want you to bring pets, because the whole reason you're there is to take care of their house, and they don't want a pet in their house, or you're there to take care of their pets. And sometimes, other dogs and other pets don't mingle very well together. Okay. So, here's the important thing about this whole Q&A and everything we're talking about. Number one, if you are prepared, then adjusting to life in Costa Rica is not nearly as difficult, And the easiest way to be prepared to adjusting to life in Costa Rica is, hey, go to the link in the description below. Come to our relocation event, and the next relocation event is March 3rd. Tickets are going fast, but we would love for you to come to our relocation event. You got questions about the relocation event? Hey, click the link below, schedule a free 20-minute call, and we'll talk to you about it, answer any questions. Whatever questions you have, schedule that free 20-minute call. We'll be more than happy to talk with you and answer your questions, okay? So, hey, the most important takeaway about this whole thing is, if you are prepared, then it's not nearly as hard to adjust to life in Costa Rica. If you're not prepared, and if you made the mistakes we made, it can pile up. It can wear you down, and you're like, I ain't staying here. And that's why more people that come to Costa Rica leave than stay. And that's because they're just not prepared. They're just not. They're not prepared to life in Costa Rica. They can't adjust because they haven't made the connections. When problems arise, they don't know who to contact, and so they just don't have. They don't know what to do, and it's just easier to leave. So I'm scrolling down here to take a look at some of these, any other questions or comments. So if you got some questions or comments, hey, and look, do me a favor, make sure to leave questions and comments below the video. Your engagement helps tremendously, so that other people can get the information that you're getting today. Okay. Hey, Doug says something really good right here. Everything does take longer in Costa Rica. And he says, hey, look, my friends tell me if you can accomplish one task in Costa Rica a day, you're doing great. You're absolutely right. You know, uh, it just takes forever to do anything. I mean, it takes forever. In the United States, it's like, hey, okay, 10 minutes to Walmart, get what I got to get, be back home. I'll be home in an hour. Ain't happening in Costa Rica. The roads, it takes so much longer to get to where you're going. I mean, every time you turn around, it's this, it's that, or another. So, hey, look, just remember, if things do take longer, relax, chill, just try to enjoy life. It is different, but if you're prepared for it, well, then you're like, okay, just enjoy life. It is a big, big, big difference, So, all right, what else we got? Okay, I'm loving this. I hope you guys are getting some value out of this. Okay. Now take a look at what Doug says. He says our Tico property manager basically told us that if you have bars on the windows and it's known that he's looking after certain properties, nothing will happen to your stuff. Okay, so if you got bars in your windows and someone's watching your place, you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so it is important that your place is secure. If you don't want bars on your windows, make sure that you have a house sitter. Make sure that you have video cameras. You've got to take precautions, and it's important that you do that. Okay. Pig says, how is the solarium construction going? Have you been able to acquire the materials? Will you feature a video on it? The solarium. Solarium. What's a solarium? Is that solar panels and stuff? I'm not sure what a solarium is. You might have to. Hey, I'm a smart guy, but I'm not that smart. Big words can intimidate me. So, hey, maybe tell me what you're talking about, pigs. Indoor plants. Oh, okay. I see what he's saying. Indoor
he's
plants.
Talking about our garden house.
Our garden house. Okay. Not yet. Got to get into the house, and I'm hoping. I keep saying he means greenhouse. Thank you, Kevin. So I'm learning a new word. Okay. Solarium. Okay, that's good. Hey, haven't started on that yet. So our garden house, we will start on it as soon as we get moved into the house. Right now, as you can see by looking at where we're inside the barn, okay, and that barn's getting old, but hey, you know what, we got a place to live until we get our house built, and so hopefully we're going to be inside that house soon. I hope by the end of the year. But, I'm learning how to weld. And so the welding takes me longer because, I chose to weld this house together. And because I'm not a welder, I can melt some metal together. But at the same time, I can melt some holes in my metal. And then I got to spend a half an hour fixing them holes. Okay. So anyway, hopefully soon I will get started on that. Okay. And then we will have a full video.
The metal, because we've got into rainy season, the metal is rusted.
And
even though it's covered, there's so much humidity in the air. You have,
so much moisture that my metal inside the house is rusting. So now I got to sand that down, and it takes time. Now, Jennifer says, well, why would you need a greenhouse in Costa Rica? Very valid point. So if you're wanting to do any gardening outside, if you can plant 365 days out of the year. But if you plant, let's say you got some nice new vegetable plants growing some nice new tomato plants growing. Well, in the rainy season, it can rain so hard it will beat those plants into the ground. So you need a greenhouse, and it doesn't have to be a complete greenhouse. It just needs to be covered. And in Costa Rica, the Ticos, they will just take strips of plastic and put it on poles and cover it. Okay, so we're going to actually install a really nice covered place. It won't have any walls on it, but it will be white plastic so that you can get the light through there. But yes, that's why you need a greenhouse if you want to plant 365 days out of the year. Now, guess what? If you don't want to plant a garden 6 months out of the year during the rainy season, well, then you don't need to put up a greenhouse. You can just plant your garden during the summertime and water your plants.
Yeah, that's why it's not. It's mostly just a cover. We say garden house because it's.
Yeah, we call it a
a
garden house because that's where I'm going to have
cover.
my garden. So you don't necessarily have to have it. Most Ticos, they're planting gardens all the time, but they don't have a garden house. They just take and put up poles and put plastic over it. Okay. Are you using SIP panels also? I'm not sure what SIP panels are, Doug. So, hey, give me some clarification on that. Maka says, one last question for me in this video is, do you deal with the 3 S's, snakes, scorpions, and spiders living off grid? I'm a Marine, but I got my limits. Hey, I got a video coming out for you real soon. Scorpions, they look scary. They're not a problem. And I'll be talking more about that later. Snakes, if you're in a higher altitude, yeah, snakes can be a problem. But all that scary stuff about snakes, that's generally down where it's hot. And so you have a lot of deadly snakes. So I can't say a lot of deadly snakes. But you know what? If you got a piece of property and it's clear, you're not going to have a problem with snakes.
We're from
Okay?
Louisiana. We're used to snakes.
Yeah.
Cottonmouths, copperheads, rattlesnakes
Yeah.
all over the place.
And you know what? You're going to have spiders in your house. Now, you know what? If you have someone build your house right, then you're not going to have to worry about spiders in your house if it's sealed. Most houses in Costa Rica, when you're renting, they're not sealed. So since they're not sealed, then spiders come in. I could use some more water. Okay. Yeah, the 3 S's you're going to have an issue with, but it's really not a serious issue at all. But you will have spiders, you will have insects coming in your house, but there are a lot of things you can do to cut back on all of that as well. Doug says that SIP panels are structural insulated panels, and they do have those, and I haven't found any, but I have thought about using structural insulated panels. The house that I'm building, I'm not using that. I'm using a lot of glass, but I do want to look more into the structural insulated panels. I do want to look more into that. Okay.
I want to say something back about the 3 S's. It depends on the person, because some people really are afraid of spiders, and there are a lot of spiders and big spiders, and if just seeing one causes you issues. We've had some people that were not expecting, they came wanting to live off grid. They came wanting to live in a place where, it was there were no people. And they were shocked by how many critters.
Well, there was a lot of people that came to Costa Rica, and they was insulted because they had ants in their house. Well, you are living in a jungle.
Yeah,
okay.
Even the finer hotels and stuff will have the little sugar ants. I call them little sugar ants.
Yeah, they're just all over. So you are coming to a place that's called the rainforest, and you have animals all over the place. So it's not uncommon. So you learn the things that you need to do if you don't want insects in your house. So, and Jennifer says snakes are my favorite animal. And there are a lot of supposedly good snakes. For me, I think all snakes are bad, but there are good snakes that do eat mice and eat other snakes. And so you just educate yourself, and you can learn about all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, Kevin says, instead of framing it with steel, are the structural aluminum products available? I haven't seen a lot of structural aluminum products. Okay. Now, they do have light duty frame, a light duty steel. And so you can, instead of using 2x4s, you can, for the main structure, or the main structural points, you can use heavier duty steel and then use light duty steel for the walls, where you're going to use drywall and things like that. You can do that. But as far as the structural aluminum products, I'm not sure about that. Haven't seen that. They might have that in San Jose, but I honestly couldn't give you an answer on that. Okay. Uh, Pamela says, do you have to have building permits for any or all phases of construction? And so a lot of that just all depends on where you live at. Where I live at, I don't have to have a building permit, but mine's a very rare situation, and it's a whole nother story I won't get into. But in most places, you do have to have building permits. But depending on a lot of places where you live at, if you're building a tiny house, you don't have to have a building structure. If it's a movable structure, you don't have to have a permit. So a lot of that. And as far as the phases of construction, usually it's just one building permit, and bam, you're rocking and rolling. And it's not like you got to have different permits for different phases, as far as I know. Okay, so as far as what Kevin was saying, he was referring to the greenhouse. Aluminum products available for the greenhouse. In Costa Rica, most people don't have greenhouses, so it's different. Completely different. There's no reason to have greenhouses for most part. So it would be very difficult to find that kind of item for your greenhouse, because most people just don't put up greenhouses. In the United States, especially where I lived at in Louisiana, it was very, very popular to have. It was the greenhouse capital of the United States. You got more nurseries in Louisiana than anywhere else in the United States. So there was greenhouses everywhere. So in Costa Rica, things like greenhouses are not normal. And so it's very difficult to find anything when it's not normal, when it's not the typical thing. So I hope that answers. And Doug brings up a really good point. If you keep the major jungle a distance from your house, this will help you keep the 3 S's at bay. Absolutely. And that's why, we're dad smack in the middle of the jungle, but you know what?
And we're living open air. So
in open air,
we
okay.
have a lot of spiders.
But you know what? We don't hardly ever see any snakes. Why? Because we keep the jungle cleared. We keep the grass cut. So we don't have a lot of snakes at all. Hardly ever see a snake. Okay. We don't hardly see that many scorpions. Okay. But guess what? Now in the barn, we see scorpions. In the house, we won't see scorpions. Why? Because the house is kind of built up off the ground. So we won't see scorpions there. So there's things that you can do to educate yourself or prepare yourself so that we'll probably never see a snake, probably never see scorpions in our house. Will we get spiders? Probably so. But once the house is sealed, then we probably won't get spiders there. Okay. So there are things. I'm glad you brought that up, Doug. That's a very valid point. If you keep the jungle at bay, you won't have near the problems with the 3 S's. Okay.
All right. I did see a snake when I was taking clothes off the line the other day. Don't know. It was red, black, whatever. But I know there's some that are good and some that are poisonous. But because the grass was short, I saw it.
You saw it slithering by.
Yeah.
And that's,
and it was more afraid of me. It was running from me versus it, wasn't trying to chase me or anything. And having a dog and a cat like we do, I think cuts down on some things.
I mean, our cat Cootie is constantly catching mice and constantly catching all kind of rodents and things, and so having a cat will keep a lot of that stuff away. I like to keep my grass cut and beautiful and pristine. And so that keeps a lot of the stuff out, don't have nearly as much problem with horse flies and bugs and mosquitoes. If you have too much foliage within, it's going to increase, a problem with mosquitoes. So you want to make sure that you don't have any standing water. That'll get rid of a lot of mosquitoes. Okay. William has a really good question. Do you need permits to draw water from a creek or river for hydroelectric? What regulations are there for hydroelectricity? That's a very good question. Okay. And I'll tell you that, I don't know what regulations there are for hydroelectric, but what I will tell you that any of the ticos that have hydroelectric in the rivers and the creeks, I don't know a single person that has gotten any kind of a permit. Okay, technically, so let me tell you, there's thousands upon thousands of ticos that draw water out of the creeks and out of the rivers, and nobody has an actual permit. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why that is. Costa Rica has a law that says it is the fundamental right of every person in Costa Rica to have access to water, a fundamental right. Costa Rica has another law that says it's illegal for you to draw water from the rivers and the creeks. Okay, however, they clash with each other. And so, as long as you're not giving Costa Rica a problem, then if you're just drawing water out of the river or the creek for your own personal use, they're not going to bother you. Now, guess what? If you're giving Costa Rica a problem and you think you're some entitled American and you've got rights, they're going to just fine you and penalize you, and they're not going to allow you to get water from the river or the creeks. Okay, so don't give them a problem. Yes, I know a lot of ticos that have hydroelectricity in the creeks and the rivers, and they're not having a problem. So Costa Rica says that you can use the water in the river so long as that water goes back into the river. So you know what? There's a lot. They all have hydroelectric. They have their hydroelectric plant there, and hydroelectric uses a lot of water. But as long as that water goes through the hydroelectric plant back into the river or the creek, then it's not a problem. So if you understand that, then you're not going to have any problems. Okay, I'm going to tell you this: if you try to go get permits, you're going to have a problem. They may never give you a permit, and they will tell you that you can't do it. I'm not telling you to do anything illegal, and it's not illegal. Just put the hydroelectric plant in there. Don't say anything, and you're not going to have a problem. Okay, I probably shouldn't say that out loud on this video. Okay, so that's my suggestion, and that's what you should do. Okay. Pamela's asking, hey Rebecca, how's your spider bite?
Well, Pam, I wanted to send you an email asking you to keep it in prayer, because I've been dealing with this spider bite since August. And show them your matching one. We got them at the same time.
My matching spider bite is right here, and this spider bite has been here for months.
Yeah, and since we got in August, because when we went to the United States in September, I went to the doctor, and that was the second doctor I'd go into, second dermatologist. I went to one in Costa Rica, and then in September, and it's healing, but it's getting better. But I have it covered with a Band-Aid, but it looks like his arm.
Yeah,
except it's on my nose.
Yeah, and so with spider bites, can you really do anything about them? I mean, this has been here forever, and I've done nothing to it. Nothing. Rebecca's done all kind of things to hers, and it looks like hers has gotten worse. Now, you know what? I got another spider bite not too long ago, and it's right here, and it's healing up super, super fast. But you know what? I've been experimenting because I get a lot of spider bites. And so I left it alone, didn't do anything with it. It swole up. It got what looked like a pimple head on it. And so I didn't mash it or anything. And it got really big. And I was very, very careful to lance it. And I was very careful not to smash it. And I got out some tweezers, and I got out what it looked like infection. And I eased it out. And I left it alone, and I think I washed it with some antibacterial soap. That's all I did. And man, it's healing up super, super fast. It's healing up a whole lot faster than the one that's right here. So spider bites, I get them all the time because I live in a barn. If you live at home, you'll probably never have a problem with spider bites, okay? We see lots of scorpions. I've never been stung by a scorpion. Rebecca has been stung one time, but it wasn't a major thing. She said it was like a little bee sting?
Yeah, like a bee sting. Of course, it just like with the spiders, it depends on what kind it is. The one that I got that got me was those little small brown ones. But the scorpions basically don't bother you unless you squish them.
That's like a spider. He's not going to bother you unless you happen to accidentally squeeze him. He gets in your clothes, and that's when a spider. Well, can't always say that because somehow you got a spider bite on your nose, and obviously,
but I don't know.
Maybe you rolled on him and squeezed him with your nose. Who knows? But
yeah, I don't know.
So
But and congratulations to Virginia. They moving. I saw earlier a
uh,
video, remark earlier, comment earlier that
oh
they.
yeah, congratulations. Virginia Clark says, "Hey, our move is planned for 2025." Woohoo! So kudos to you, right? You know, the important thing, if you plan and you prepare, things that are very, you know, so much better. And you know, take a look at what Doug says here, because this is a good comment. You know, good screens are a must. We had a lyre snake in our house embedded in the inside window track. We had bifold doors open late one night and was in the pool late with friends. So, you know, so hey, stuff can come in, right?
It is a country that is filled with animals, insects of all kinds. It is a biodiverse
Area. Hmm.
area. I can't quote the percentages, but there's a high percentage of all
Kinds of animals.
species
Yeah.
that live here. Costa Rica is kind of a land bridge between North America and South America, so it's got a little bit of some from each, and it's
Yeah.
has
Now,
a lot of undeveloped areas. So
now, Doug says something, but I want Doug to prove it to me. Doug says the younger the scorpion, the worse the sting. So, Doug, I want you to go out and I want you to get some statistics on that, and I want you to come back and give us some facts on that. So, get out there and get stung by 10 young scorpions and 10 older scorpions, and give us back. I want some feedback on that. I want some proof on that. Okay, Doug?
and scorpions like to hide. They're not usually out in the open. I've had one or two be in my 2 different times be in my bath towel because it's rolled up or folded, and they like to get in stuff like that. When I got stung, it was in my pillowcase, and I didn't know it. And so I laid down, and then I did like this, and it stung me on the hand because I smashed it.
Yeah. So now Virginia asked a question. It says, I wonder if any farm supply would have mosquito dunks. I don't know what a mosquito dunk is. I'm guessing it's something that helps get rid of mosquitoes. So you'd have to kind of maybe clarify what a mosquito dunk is. And I could tell you if I've ever seen one in some of the farm supply stores.
But they do have stuff for mosquitoes and things like that. We try not to use poisons and insecticides. We are using bio-friendly, environmentally friendly things, and as we all know, that doesn't always work as well as
Yeah, you know, we
insecticides.
Yeah,
but they do have that. I mean,
yeah, they have some things, you know, and how well they work, I don't know. But like Rebecca said, we try to we want our place to be as organic, chemical free as possible. So we try everything that we can to try to use biodegradable soaps, biodegradable everything, because we want to keep our piece of property. You know, we want to keep our slice of paradise as nice as possible. So anyway, hey, we are at the top of the hour. If you got any last minute questions, we'd love to answer those last minute questions for you. But hey, thank you so much to Virginia. She's like, thank you. We really appreciate all of the info and the videos and the ones that you do with Michael on our Odd Couple podcast. Super helpful and matter of factual. And that's what, you know, that's what we do try. You know, hey, we really do enjoy spending time with you guys, and we greatly, greatly appreciate your support, you know, especially for the people that join our members only community. You know, it's monetary support that does help us, does help offset the cost of some of the things that we have to do in order to actually create the video. So we really, really greatly, greatly support you. You know, if you, you know, need help, need assistance, hey, be sure to schedule a free 20-minute phone consultation. We'll be more than glad to talk to you. Be sure to join us at our next relocation retreat. We want to say thank you. Have an awesome, awesome day, and we can't wait to see and talk with you next time.
bye.
Y'all have a great one.